Stranded billionaire meets humble mechanic. One night that changes everything forever. The storm arrived earlier than anyone expected. Rain hammered the dark Colorado highway like 1,000 drumming fists, and thunder rolled across the mountains. Most drivers hurried off the road as visibility dropped to almost nothing, but not Eleanor Sterling. The 32-year-old billionaire CEO of Sterling Innovations was flying down the interstate in her luxury sedan, frustrated after a board meeting that had stretched late into the night. She was exhausted, annoyed, and desperate to get home. Her assistant had begged her to wait out the storm, but Eleanor was too stubborn. She wanted control over her company, her life, and even the weather if she could manage it. But the storm didn't care who she was. Just past midnight, her dashboard flashed red. The car jolted, sputtered, then rolled to a stop on the side of the empty highway. Eleanor stared in disbelief. Her top-of-the-line vehicle, engineered with the best technology money could buy, had stranded her in the middle of a storm. She tapped her phone. No signal, not even one bar. "Perfect," she muttered. Her designer heels sank into wet mud as she stepped out, umbrella snapping backward in the violent wind. She was drenched in seconds. The headlights dimmed behind her like an apology from a machine that was supposed to never fail. Eleanor tried her phone again, still dead. For the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar, fear. She was rich, powerful, respected, but none of that mattered on the side of a deserted road in a storm that cared nothing for money or reputation. Then through the rain, she saw lights approaching, dim, uneven, definitely not a luxury car. A rusty pickup truck rattled closer, its engine coughing like it had lived through 100 winters. It slowed to a stop behind her sedan, flooding her car with pale yellow headlights. A tall man stepped out, wearing a worn jacket and grease-stained jeans. His beard was trimmed, his eyes steady, and something about him radiated calm despite the storm. "You all right?" he called over the wind. Eleanor straightened. "My car died, no signal either." He nodded once, respectful but not intimidated. "Name's Luke. I live a few miles down. I'm a mechanic. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated. She wasn't used to trusting strangers. She was used to hiring them. But she had no choice, and something about him felt safe. "Please," she said. Luke grabbed a flashlight from his truck and opened her hood. Rain poured over both of them, but he didn't seem to care. He worked silently, focused, examining parts she didn't even know existed. After several minutes, he stepped back. "Starter's fried. Probably some electrical damage, too," he said. "She's not going anywhere tonight." Eleanor tried to hide her frustration. "Is there a tow service around here?" "Closest one shut down hours ago," he replied. "Storm's too strong." "You shouldn't stay out here. If you want, I can tow you to my shop. It's old but warm." She studied his face. No arrogance, no impatience, just sincerity. "All right," she said softly. Luke hooked her sedan to his truck and drove slowly through the winding mountain road. Silence filled the cab, broken only by the storm and the occasional rattling of the old truck. Eleanor kept glancing at him, his steady hands, his calm expression, the way he didn't seem bothered by having a billionaire stranger in the seat next to him. They finally reached a modest garage near a small cabin. It wasn't fancy, but it felt safe, alive even. Tools hung neatly on the wall, an old heater hummed in the corner, and the smell of oil and metal felt oddly comforting. "I'll dry off your coat," Luke offered. Eleanor nodded, shivering despite herself. He handed her a warm blanket from a shelf. "You can sit by the heater. I'll check the car." "Now?" she asked. "It's almost 1 in the morning." He shrugged. "Storm's loud. Hard to sleep anyway." Luke worked for an hour, silent, focused, dedicated. Eleanor watched him from the doorway, noticing things she had never appreciated before. The precision of real, practical work. The quiet intelligence in someone who had to fix problems with his hands, not spreadsheets. The kind of patience that couldn't be bought. When he finished, he wiped his hands on a rag. "I can get you back on the road by tomorrow evening," he said. "You're welcome to stay at the cabin tonight. It's nothing fancy, but warm." Eleanor expected awkwardness, but instead found comfort in the humble space, a small living room, A bookshelf filled with old manuals and worn novels, a fireplace crackling gently. She felt her stress slipping away in a way it hadn't in years. "You live alone?" she asked. "Yeah," Luke answered. "My folks passed a while back. Shop's all I've got now." There was no bitterness in his voice, just acceptance. Eleanor felt something shift in her chest. Empathy, admiration, something she couldn't quite name. They sat by the fire, and for the first time in years, Eleanor talked. Not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but as a person. She told him how success had come with isolation, pressure, expectations she never asked for. Luke listened without judgment, without trying to impress her, without trying to gain anything. When she finished, he simply said, "Sounds lonely." The honesty nearly brought her to tears. "What about you?" she asked. Luke leaned back. "I fix cars. I help neighbors. I take care of what little I have. Life's simple. But peace is worth more than money." Eleanor looked at him, saw the truth in his eyes, and realized she was sitting beside someone wealthier than she had ever been. They talked until the fire burned low, and fatigue overcame them both. Luke offered her the only bedroom while he slept on the couch. She protested, but he insisted. By morning, the storm had passed. Sunlight broke through, the trees casting a golden glow on the wet earth. Luke was already in the garage, sleeves rolled up, working on her car with quiet dedication. Eleanor watched from the doorway, feeling emotions she couldn't explain. Gratitude, yes, but also admiration, respect, and something warm curling in her chest. By late afternoon, the car roared back to life. Eleanor stared at him, stunned. "You fixed it in a day?" He shrugged. "Didn't want you stranded here longer than necessary." She stepped closer. "Luke, how much do I owe you?" He shook his head. "Just pay for the parts. Labor's on me." She blinked. "Why, I'm a billionaire. You could ask for anything." He looked at her calmly. "I'm not helping the billionaire. I'm helping the person who sat by that fire last night." A lump formed in her throat. "No one's talked to me like that in years," she whispered. Luke smiled gently. "Maybe you needed someone to." Eleanor opened her car door but hesitated. Her hand rested on the frame as she looked back at him. "What if I don't want this night to be the last?" she asked. Luke's expression softened, surprise flickering in his eyes. "It doesn't have to be." She exhaled shakily. "I'd like to see you again." He stepped closer, wiping grease from his hands. "Then you will." Eleanor left the garage feeling lighter than she had in a decade, and Luke watched her drive away with something hopeful blooming inside him. 2 weeks later, an unfamiliar car pulled up to his shop, the same luxury sedan, shining in the afternoon sun. Eleanor stepped out, wearing simple jeans and a warm smile. "Hope you didn't think I forgot," she said. Luke chuckled softly. "Didn't think you would." And in that small mountain town, in a humble mechanic's shop, a connection neither of them expected began to grow. Proof that sometimes a single storm, a broken car, and a night beside a fire can change everything forever.